The Galactic Council Chamber was bigger than any building on Earth. Jake Morrison stood in the observer section and watched hundreds of alien species fill the massive room. Each species had its own area, with special air and gravity to match their home planets. The Vorthic delegation sat in the center seats, their gray skin shining under the artificial lights. Ambassador Ziegler of the Vorthic Empire stood up to speak. His forearms moved as he talked, and his voice came through the translator devices that everyone wore. Jake had seen Ziegler before other meetings, but today the ambassador looked angry. Fellow members of the Galactic Council, Ziegler began. We must discuss the human problem that grows worse each day. For 3 years, these Earth creatures have spread across our galaxy as mercenaries. They fight in every conflict. They take payment from anyone who asks. They have no loyalty except to credits in victory. Jake felt his jaw tighten, but kept his face calm. As Earth's military attach, he had to stay professional, even when aliens said things that made him angry. He looked around the room and saw many species nodding in agreement with Ziegler. The Etherian delegate spoke next. These beings looked like living crystals that changed color when they talked. The Vorthic ambassador speaks truth. Last month, human mercenaries ended the border. Conflict between my people and the Sectari. Yes, they brought peace, but their methods were brutal. They fight without mercy. They attack at night when others rest. They use tricks and traps instead of honorable combat. Honorable combat got your people killed for 50 years. Jake whispered to himself, but he did not speak out loud. Humans. We're only observers here, not full members of the council. More species stood to complain about humans. The Naifi representative rose from her water tank, her blue-green skin dripping. Human soldiers helped my colony last season, but they scared our children. They move too fast, think too quickly, and their eyes see everything. They are predators, nothing more. Jake wanted to laugh at that. The Naifi hired humans because pirates were stealing their underwater farms. Those scary human soldiers saved thousands of Naifi lives, but now they complained about human methods. The discussion continued for hours. Each species had stories about human mercenaries. Some praised their effectiveness, but worried about their growing influence. Others called humans dangerous beasts that needed to be controlled. None of them seemed to understand that humans became soldiers because the galaxy needed them. On the human frigate Endeavor, Captain Lisa Chun watched the council meeting through a secure video feed. Her ship floated in space just outside this council station, ready to leave when the meeting ended. Around her, the bridge crew worked quietly, but she could see anger on their faces as they listened to the alien complaints. They hire us to fix their problems, then complain when we succeed, said her second-in-command, Lieutenant Paul Davis. Maybe we should let them handle their own wars. Lisa shook her head. That's not who we are, Paul. We help because it's right, not because they appreciate it. But, Captain, they're talking about restrictions. They want to limit where humans can go, what jobs we can take. How is that fair? Lisa turned from the screen to look at her crew. These men and women had fought in a dozen conflicts across the galaxy. They saved colonies, protected trade routes, and brought peace to systems that had known only war. Now the galaxy wanted to chain them. Fair doesn't matter, Lisa said. What matters is that we know who we are. Let them think we're just soldiers. The truth has a way of coming out. Back in the council chamber, Ziegler was building to his main point. I propose the following restrictions on human military activity. First, no human mercenary groups larger than 50 individuals. Second, humans must register all weapons and ships with the council. Third, humans cannot take contracts from both sides of any conflict. Fourth, human soldiers must submit to council oversight for all operations. The room buzzed with discussion as translators worked to share the proposal in dozens of languages. Jake saw many delegates nodding. They were afraid of humans, and fear made beings do stupid things. A small, furry delegate from the Rallic Confederation raised a paw to speak. What about humans who aren't soldiers? Surely these restrictions would not apply to human traders or scientists. Seacler's mandibles clicked in what Jake recognized as dismissive laughter. What human traders? What human scientists? In 3 years, we have seen only their warriors. Humans are a military species. It is all they know, all they are. We must accept this truth and act accordingly. Jake's hands clenched into fists. He thought about his sister back on Earth, a doctor who had just developed a new treatment for radiation sickness. He thought about his neighbor, an artist who painted landscapes of alien worlds he had never seen. He thought about the millions of humans who looked at the stars with wonder, not as battlefields, but as places to explore and understand. But Jake said nothing. Orders were orders, and Earth's government had told him to observe and report, not to argue. Humans were new to the galactic community. They had to earn respect slowly, even if it meant enduring insults. The vote began. Species after species raised appendages, tentacles, or energy fields to show support for the restrictions. The count grew higher and higher. Some species abstained, unsure about limiting any race's freedom, but none spoke against the proposal. Jake touched his communicator and sent a message to Earth. Council moving forward with military restrictions. Overwhelming support. Humans, classified as warrior species only, await instructions. The response came quickly. Understood. Maintain position. Do not engage in debate. Time will prove them wrong. As the vote concluded, Jake noticed something interesting. Several delegates who voted for the restrictions looked uncomfortable. The Yutani representative, whose people had hired human soldiers just last month, would not meet Jake's eyes. The Boran delegate, saved by human mercenaries from a plague of space locusts, shifted nervously in his seat. They knew the truth, but were too afraid to speak it. They had seen human compassion firsthand, but chose political safety over honesty. Jake felt sad for them. Fear made cowards of otherwise decent beings. Captain Lisa-chan turned off the video feed as the council session ended. Her crew looked at her, waiting for orders or at least some words of comfort. She stood and faced them. They think we're just soldiers, she said. They see our strength and skill, but not our hearts. They watch us win their wars, but don't ask why we fight. They fear us because they don't understand us. So what do we do, Captain? Paul asked. Lisa smiled. We do what humans always do. We keep helping. We keep protecting. We keep being who we are. One day, something will happen that shows them the truth. The galaxy will see that we fight not because we love war, but because we love peace. We protect not because we're predators, but because we're protectors. And if they never see it? Another crew member asked. They will, Lisa said with certainty. The universe has a way of revealing truth. We just need to be patient and ready. When that moment comes. The Endeavor turned away from the council station and jumped to hyperspace. Another contract waited, another system that needed help. The crew would go because that was what humans did. They helped even when the galaxy misunderstood them. Jake Morrison stayed on the station for 3 more days, filing reports and meeting with the few delegates who had talked to him. Most avoided him now, embarrassed or afraid. He did not blame them. Change was hard for any species. On his last night, Jake stood at an observation window and looked at the stars. Somewhere among those points of light, human ships moved between systems. Soldiers, yes, but also so much more. The galaxy would learn that truth eventually. Jake hoped it would not take a tragedy to open their eyes. He did not know that in just 3 weeks, his hope would be tested in ways no one could imagine. 3 weeks passed after the council meeting. The new restrictions on human military activities had gone into effect, but most human mercenary groups found ways to work within the limits. The galaxy continued as before, with conflicts starting and ending while different species pursued their own interests. Commander Alex Rivera was checking maintenance reports on his engineering vessel, the Horizon, when the emergency alarm screamed through the bridge. The sound was different from normal. Alerts. This was the universal distress signal that meant massive loss of life was imminent. Emma, what are we looking at? Alex asked his navigation officer as he rushed to the command chair. Emma Rodriguez pulled up the data on the main screen. Her face went pale as she read. Sir, it's Kepler Station. They're reporting a stellar anomaly. The star is ... It's doing something impossible. Gravity waves are tearing the station apart. Alex studied the readings. Kepler Station was huge, a trading hub that connected 17 major routes through the galaxy. Over 2 million beings lived and worked there. The station had members from every known species, all depending on the ancient structure for survival. Distance to Kepler? Alex asked. 4 hours at maximum speed, Emma replied. But sir, our orders are to finish maintenance on the relay satellites. We're not a rescue ship. Alex stood up. 2 million lives, Emma. Orders can wait. Set course for Kepler Station, maximum speed. Send a message to any human vessel within range. They need all the help they can get. The Horizon was not built for speed, but Alex pushed the engines hard. As they traveled, more information came through. The star near Kepler Station had developed an anomaly that science could not explain. Gravity waves pulsed out randomly, each one stronger than the last. The station's shields and structural supports were failing. Sir, Emma said after an hour of travel, we're getting responses. Lots of them. Alex looked at his screen and felt pride swell in his chest. Dozens of human ships were changing course toward Kepler. Not just military vessels, but cargo ships, medical cruisers, research vessels, even private yachts. When lives were at stake, humans answered the call. On the medical cruiser Mercy, Dr. Karen Phillips assembled her team. The ship had been delivering supplies to a human colony when the distress call came through. Without hesitation, the captain had ordered a course change. Listen up, Karen said to the medical staff gathered in the briefing room. Kepler Station has 17 different species living there. That means 17 different types of biology, atmospheric needs, and medical requirements. I want everyone to review our xenobiology files. We have 3 hours to prepare. Dr. Ryan Cooper raised his hand. Karen, we only have supplies for maybe 1,000 patients. If the reports are right, there could be tens of thousands of injuries. Karen nodded. Then we'll have to be creative. Remember your training. Humans adapt. We improvise. We find ways to help even when the situation seems impossible. What about the Vorthik? Another doctor asked. They're the ones who pushed for restrictions on us. Will they even accept our help? Karen's expression hardened. When someone is dying, they don't care about politics. We're doctors. We help everyone. No exceptions. The medical team scattered to prepare. Karen stayed behind and looked at the growing list of human ships responding to the crisis. Her husband commanded one of those ships, a cargo hauler that was now racing toward danger. She whispered a prayer for his safety and got back to work. Captain Danny Williams gripped his command chair as his cargo ship, Lucky Strike, pushed through another gravity wave. The ship wasn't built for this kind of stress, but Danny had learned to fly in the asteroid belts of Sol System. He could handle rough conditions. Captain, the cargo is shifting, his engineer reported. Those gravity waves are playing havoc with our hold. Secure what you can, Danny ordered. Dump the rest if you have to. We need the space for evacuees anyway. His crew worked with practiced efficiency. They had started as traders, carrying goods between human colonies. But when the call came, they didn't hesitate. Lives mattered. More than profit. Danny opened a channel to the other human ships converging on Kepler. This is Captain Williams. I'm coordinating cargo ship evacuations. We might not have weapons or medical supplies, but we have space. Let's work together. Responses came quickly. Cargo ships reported their capacity. Pilots shared data about the gravity waves. Engineers discussed ways to shield smaller vessels. In minutes, humans who had never met were working as a unified team docked at Kepler Station. Panic was spreading. The massive structure groaned under the assault of gravity waves. Sections lost atmosphere as hulls cracked. Power systems failed, leaving whole districts in darkness. Different species reacted according to their nature. Some froze in terror, others fled blindly, and many simply waited for death. Station Commander Felix, a cephalon with 12 tentacles, tried to maintain order from the command center. His species was known for logical thinking, but logic offered no solutions here. The star's behavior defied all known science. His station was dying, and he could do nothing to stop it. Commander, one of his officers called out, "We're detecting incoming ships. Dozens of them." Felix turned to the sensor display, expecting to see official rescue vessels from the Council. Instead, he saw something that made his chromatophores flicker in confusion. Human ships. Not the military vessels he expected, but a ragged fleet of civilian craft. "They're responding to our distress call," the officer continued. "Should we warn them off? The gravity waves will destroy those smaller ships." Felix hesitated. The Council had just restricted human military activity, but these weren't soldiers. Or were they? With humans, it was hard to tell. But as another section of his station vented atmosphere, he made his decision. "Guide them in," he ordered. "We need all the help we can get." The first human ship to arrive was a research vessel, studying quantum mechanics. Its captain, Dr. Janet Brooks, immediately began scanning the anomaly. While other ships focused on rescue, she wanted to understand the threat. "Captain, I think I see the pattern," her science officer said. "The gravity waves aren't random. There's a sequence, but it's incredibly complex." Janet studied the data. "Can we predict the next wave?" "Maybe. Give me 10 minutes. You have 5. Send whatever you learn to the other ships." As the human fleet arrived, they organized without central command. It was a skill learned from Earth's chaotic history. When disaster struck, humans naturally formed groups, shared resources, and worked toward common goals. Alex Rivera's Horizon took point, using its engineering sensors to map the station's damage. He broadcast safe routes to the other ships, updating constantly as new gravity waves changed the situation. "The Vortex section is critical," he announced. "They've lost main power and backup is failing. Any ship with compatible generators?" "This is Cargo Hauler Steady Hand," a voice replied. "We have Vortex spec generators, moving to assist." Alex smiled. The Steady Hand was captained by Bob Chun, a trader who had lost a fortune when the Vortex canceled contracts with humans. But Bob didn't hesitate to help them now. That was human nature. Grudges disappeared when lives were at stake. The rescue operation was unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Human creativity and adaptability showed in 1,000 ways. When docking ports were damaged, pilots matched rotation with spinning sections and jumped across. When a medical ship couldn't reach injured beings, they shot supplies through hull breaches in protective pods. Captain Lisa Chun arrived with the Endeavour, one of the few military ships in the fleet. But she didn't take command or impose military structure. Instead, She put her ship's powerful sensors and shields at the disposal of the civilian coordinators. "We're here to help, not lead," she told her crew. "Today, we're all just humans trying to save lives." The Etherian section of the station posed unique challenges. These crystalline beings needed specific harmonic frequencies to survive. Without them, they would literally shatter. Their district's harmonic generators had failed, and hundreds were already showing fractures. Maria Santos wasn't supposed to be there. She was an artist traveling to a colony to paint alien landscapes. But when she heard about the Etherians' plight, she remembered something from her art studies. "I can help," she told the rescue coordinator. "My paintings use sound waves to create visual effects. I understand harmonics." They gave her a shuttle and a small team. Maria flew into the Etherian section with her equipment. Normally used to create beautiful art, she recalibrated it desperately, trying to find the right frequencies. An Etherian child lay on the floor, cracks spreading across its crystal body. Maria knelt beside it and adjusted her device. A low hum filled the air, then shifted higher. The cracks stopped spreading. "It's working," someone shouted. Maria smiled and kept adjusting. Art and science, beauty and survival. Humans didn't separate these things the way other species did. Everything was connected, and any skill could save lives if applied correctly. As the hours passed, the human fleet faced a critical decision. The gravity waves were getting stronger. Their ships were taking damage, and some might not survive. Another hit. Safe protocol said they should withdraw, save themselves to help another day. Not a single human ship left. "We stay until everyone is safe," Danny Williams said over the comms, and every human captain agreed. They would risk everything, because that was watt hour. The rescue operation entered its second day as more human ships arrived at Kepler Station. Each vessel brought unique skills and perspectives that the galaxy had never associated with humanity. The catastrophe was revealing layers of human society that 3 years of military contracts had hidden. Chief Petty Officer Sam Taylor worked inside a Vorthic maintenance tunnel, sweat dripping down his face in the alien atmosphere. Beside him, a Vorthic engineer named Kelks watched in amazement as Sam repaired systems that should have been incompatible with human knowledge. "How do you understand our technology?" Kelks asked through his translator. "Vorthic systems are proprietary. We share them with no one." Sam smiled while reconnecting power conduits. "My daughter is studying xenoengineering at university. She's writing her thesis on comparative alien technologies. I helped her study by learning about different species' approaches to engineering. Your people use base 8 mathematics in your designs. Once I figured that out, the rest made sense." Kelks's 4 arms stopped moving. "Your offspring study our technology?" "For war purposes? For curiosity," Sam corrected. "Amy wants to design ships that any species can use. She dreams of mixed crews working together. Guess she gets her idealism from her mother." The Vorthic said nothing, but his skin patterns showed deep thought. This human soldier spoke of family, of dreams, of cooperation. It did not match what the Council had decided about humans. They worked in silence for a while before another gravity wave struck. The tunnel shook violently, and a support beam cracked above Kelks. Sam moved without thinking, pushing the larger alien aside. The beam struck Sam's shoulder, sending him to the floor. "Why?" Kelks asked, helping Sam sit up. "You could have been killed." Sam gritted his teeth against the pain. "You have kids?" "3 offspring," Kelks replied. "Then you know why. Someone needs to go home to them. Let's fix this thing before the next wave hits." Across the station, similar scenes played out. In the Etherian district, Maria Santos had been joined by other human artists and musicians. They worked together to generate the harmonic frequencies that kept the crystalline beings stable. But Maria noticed something else. The Etherians were responding to more than just the life-saving harmonics. An elderly Etherian approached her during a brief rest. His crystalline form was clouded with age, but his inner light pulsed with curiosity. The frequencies you generate carry emotional resonance. How? Maria set down her equipment. I'm a painter, not just a technician. When I create, I put feeling into my work. The harmonics aren't just mathematical. They're emotional. I'm playing hope. Hope has a frequency? Everything does, Maria said. Fear, love, joy, sadness. Humans learned long ago that emotion and science aren't opposites. They're dance partners. The Etherians' form brightened. We have believed for millennia that only our species understood the connection between emotion and physics. Yet you, a human, grasp it intuitively. We're full of surprises, Maria said with a wink, then returned to her work. In the station's central hospital, Dr. Karen Phillips faced an overwhelming situation. Thousands of injured beings filled every available space. Species with incompatible atmospheric needs were separated by failing emergency barriers. Medical supplies ran dangerously low. We need to think differently, Karen announced to her mixed team of human and alien medics. Traditional triage won't work here. We have to innovate. A knifey medic bubbled anxiously in her water suit, but protocols exist for a reason. Each species requires specific treatment. Protocols assume ideal conditions, Karen replied. We don't have ideal. We have what we have, so we adapt. She began reorganizing the entire medical response. Instead of separating by species, she grouped patients by similar injuries. A human nurse worked on a Boran's broken limb while learning their biology in real time. A human paramedic shared human coagulation techniques that, with minor modifications, worked on 3 other species. This is impossible, a cephalon doctor said, watching humans treat patients they'd never studied. Medical knowledge takes years to acquire. Dr. Ryan Cooper looked up from treating a young relic. Humans are pattern seekers. We see similarities where others see differences. Biology follows patterns. Once you understand the patterns, you can extrapolate. The cephalon watched Ryan successfully stop the relic's bleeding using modified human techniques. You make it sound simple. Not simple, Ryan corrected, but possible. Humans don't accept impossible. We just see it as a challenge. Professor Alan Brooks had come to Kepler Station to give a linguistics lecture. Now he found himself in the command center, coordinating between species whose languages had no common ground. The universal translators were failing under the station's power. Fluctuations and panic grew when species couldn't communicate. I need every human who speaks any alien language, Alan called out overcomes. I don't care if you only know curse words. Get to the command center. They came, traders who had picked up languages for business, soldiers who had learned to communicate with their employers, even children who had alien friends. Alan organized them into translation chains, passing messages between species through multiple languages when necessary. Yutani security chief needed to warn Vorthic engineers about a critical system failure. Neither spoke the other's language, and translators were down. Alan found a human child who knew basic Yutani from school, and a trader who spoke Vorthic. The message passed from Yutani to human to Vorthic, saving an entire section from decompression. How? Do your people know so many languages? Station Commander Velix asked Alan. Most species struggle to learn one alien tongue. Alan smiled. Humans are social creatures. We want to connect, to understand, to share jokes and stories. Language is just another barrier to overcome. Some of us collect languages like others. Collect art. In the station's damaged food distribution center, Danny Williams and his cargo crew had set up an improvised relief station. The challenge was immense. Dozens of species with different nutritional needs, many with food supplies destroyed by the disaster. Danny's solution was uniquely human. He didn't try to replicate exact nutritional requirements. Instead, he had his crew cooking human food with modifications. A soup kitchen in space, serving adapted versions of human cuisine that different species could digest. "This is actually good," Aboran said, trying a modified human stew. "What do you call it?" "Improvisation," Danny said with a grin. "Secret ingredient is caring enough to try." A Vorthic official approached the food line hesitantly. Danny recognized him, Sub-Commander Zelix, who had spoken against humans at a trade meeting months ago. Danny ladled out a portion without comment. Zelix took the food, then paused. "Why help us?" "My people voted for restrictions against yours," Danny shrugged. "You're hungry. That's all that matters right now. Politics can wait until after dinner." The Sub-Commander ate in silence, but his skin patterns showed emotions the translator couldn't convey. Shame, gratitude, and reconsideration swirled across his gray-hide dot as the rescue continued. Humans revealed expertise the galaxy had never suspected. Dr. Patricia Lee led a team of human oceanographers into the flooded Naifi sections. These weren't military divers trained for combat, but scientists who understood water dynamics. "The pressure differentials are creating currents," Patricia explained to our team. "We can use them to our advantage. Ride the flows, don't fight them." They saved dozens of Naifi who were trapped in air pockets or swept away by artificial currents. Patricia's understanding of fluid dynamics, gained from studying Earth's oceans, translated perfectly to the alien environment. A rescued Naifi elder floated beside Patricia. "You move through water like you were born to it. Humans are from a water world," Patricia said. "Most of our planet is ocean. We learn to respect water, understand it, work with it. That knowledge serves us everywhere." "We assumed your water skills were for warfare," the elder admitted. "Underwater demolition, aquatic assault." Patricia laughed. "I've never held a weapon. I study whales and dolphins. Peaceful creatures who taught us that intelligence comes in many forms." Throughout the station, humans shared knowledge freely. When the Rallic needed help with their damaged atmospheric processors, human botanists who understood photosynthesis offered solutions. When the Sectaris' magnetic field generators failed, human physicists who studied Earth's magnetosphere provided alternatives. Each interaction chipped away at the galaxy's misconceptions. The Vorthic who had seen only human soldiers now met human teachers patiently explaining engineering concepts. The Etherians who had thought humans were purely physical beings discovered human artists who understood emotional harmonics. The Naifi who had called humans predators met human conservationists dedicated to protecting life. Tom Bailey, the park ranger who had never left Earth before, found himself in a failing section with mixed species refugees. A young Vorthic was crying, a sound that translated across species. Tom knelt beside the child. "Hey there," he said softly. "You scared?" The child nodded, eyes wide with fear. Tom pulled out his personal pad and showed pictures. "See this? This is a bear from my park back home. Big, scary looking, right? But you know what? They're mostly gentle. They only attack when frightened. Just like this gravity wave. It's scary, but we'll get through it." He kept talking, showing pictures of Earth's wildlife, telling. The massive gravity wave was coming, and everyone could feel it. The star's anomaly had been building to this moment, and sensor readings showed this wave would be 3 times stronger than anything before. Parts of Kepler Station were already evacuated, but thousands remained trapped in sections too damaged to escape. Ambassador Ziegler found himself in one of those sections. along with 30 others of various species. The barriers around them crackled with unstable energy that would kill anyone who touched them. The Vorthic leader who had spoken so strongly against humans just weeks ago now faced death surrounded by the beings he had called mere tools of war. A human appeared at the barrier's edge, not a soldier in armor, but a man in a simple green uniform. Tom Bailey examined the energy field with a handheld device, his face calm despite the danger. "Stay back from the barriers," Tom called out. "I'm going to try something." Ziegler moved forward, careful not to get too close to the deadly energy. "You're not military. That uniform ... Park ranger," Tom said, still studying his device. "I protect wilderness areas on Earth. Name's Tom Bailey. A park ranger?" Ziegler's translator struggled with the concept. "You guard plants?" Tom smiled, while adjusting his device. "Guard, protect, study, nurture. Whatever the job needs. Right now, it needs me to figure out these barriers. They're similar to the fields we use to relocate dangerous wildlife without hurting them. The frequency should disperse the energy safely." The assembled beings watched as Tom worked. He moved with the same confidence they had seen in human soldiers, but his purpose was entirely different. This wasn't about conquest or victory. It was about preservation of life. "Tell me about your parks," a frightened Etherian child asked, its crystalline form flickering with fear. Tom glanced up from his work. "Well, my favorite is Yellowstone. It's got these hot springs that bubble up from deep in the earth. Colors you wouldn't believe. Blues and greens and oranges. All natural. And the animals. We've got wolves that sing to each other across the valleys." "Wolves?" Aboran asked. "The human predator animals?" "Predators, sure, but they're part of the balance," Tom explained while carefully adjusting the barrier frequency. "We nearly lost them once. Humans hunted them almost to extinction. But we learned. We brought them back because we realized the ecosystem needed them. Sometimes the scariest things are the most important to protect." He continued working and talking, sharing stories of Earth's wild places. The trapped beings found themselves drawn into his tales of mountains and forests, of humans working to preserve rather than conquer. Even Ziegler listened intently, his preconceptions crumbling with each word. "You said humans hunted these wolves." "Nearly to extinction," Ziegler said. "Yet you worked to save them. Why?" Tom paused in his adjustments. "Because we learned. Humans make mistakes, big ones, but we try to fix them. We're not perfect. We're just persistent." The device in Tom's hands beeped. "Got it. Everyone move to the back wall. This might get bright." The energy barrier flared and dissipated. Tom rushed in, helping beings of all species toward safety. When an elderly cephalon struggled to move quickly enough, Tom picked up the much larger being without hesitation, carrying it despite the strain. "Why risk yourself for us?" Ziegler asked as they reached a safe corridor. Tom set down the cephalon gently. "You needed help. That's reason enough." Before Ziegler could respond, another human arrived, Sarah Mitchell, the trader. She carried emergency supplies and immediately began distributing them. "Tom, good work. I've got 17 more trapped groups in this section. Can your device handle it?" "Battery's good for maybe 3 more," Tom replied. "After that, I'll need to improvise." Sarah nodded and turned to the rescued beings. "Anyone here have technical knowledge? We need all the help we can get." Several beings volunteered, including Ziegler. As they worked together, the Vorthic ambassador found himself taking orders from humans who showed no interest in commanding, only in helping. They deferred to his knowledge of Vorthic systems, respected his suggestions, and treated him as an equal partner in the rescue. Across the station, the approaching gravity wave forced desperate measures. Captain Lisa Chun made a decision that would have been unthinkable under normal circumstances. She opened the Endeavor's armory to civilians. "These are military-grade shield generators," she explained to the gathered human volunteers. "They're designed to protect soldiers in combat, but they'll work just as well protecting evacuees from gravity shears. Take them. Use them. Save lives." Her crew distributed the equipment without question. Military hardware worth millions of credits went to teachers, traders, and scientists. Lisa knew she would face court-martial for this decision, but she didn't care. Lives mattered more than regulations. Dr. Karen Phillips received one of the shield generators and immediately saw its potential. "We can modify these to create protective bubbles around critical patients during transport. The gravity wave won't be able to tear them apart." She worked with human engineers and alien medics to adapt the military technology for medical purposes. Within an hour, they had created mobile life support units that could protect the most vulnerable patients during evacuation. In the station's core, Professor Alan Brooks coordinated the most complex evacuation in galactic history. With translators failing and dozens of species needing different escape routes, chaos should have reigned. Instead, Alan had created a communication network that seemed impossible. "How are you doing this?" Commander Velix asked, watching Alan manage 50 different conversations simultaneously. Alan pointed to his team, humans of all backgrounds working together. "Every human here speaks at least 2 languages. Most know 3 or 4. We're creating translation chains. A message goes from Vorthic to a human who speaks both Vorthic and Etherian, then to another human who speaks Etherian and Naifi. It's not perfect, but it works. But the complexity... Velix's 12 tentacles writhed in confusion. "Humans thrive on complexity," Alan said. "Our brains are pattern-matching machines. We see connections others miss. It's why we're good at languages, music, mathematics, and yes, warfare. But it also makes us excellent at bringing beings together." The gravity wave struck while evacuations were still underway. Kepler Station groaned and twisted as space itself warped around it. Sections tore away, spinning into the void. But where the galaxy expected to see human military precision, they saw something else entirely. Danny Williams' cargo ship Lucky Strike took critical damage. Half his hull opened to space, and his engines failed. By any logical assessment, he should have abandoned ship. Instead, he and his crew worked frantically to save the 300 evacuees in their cargo hold. "Captain, we need to go," his first officer urged. "The escape pods still work." Danny shook his head. "Not without our passengers. Get me every patch kit, every emergency seal, everything that might hold atmosphere. We're not leaving anyone behind." His crew, traders and merchants with no military training, became heroes. They sealed hull breaches with cargo netting and emergency foam. They shared their personal oxygen supplies with evacuees whose species needed different atmospheric mixes. They refused to give up even as their ship died around them. Maria Santos was helping evacuate the last Etherians when the gravity wave caused a catastrophic harmonic disruption. The crystalline beings began to shatter, their forms unable to maintain cohesion in the chaotic frequencies. Without thinking, Maria cranked her harmonic generator to maximum and stepped into the center of the Etherian group. The feedback would be dangerous to her human nervous system, but it might save them. She began to sing, not words, but pure tones that complemented and guided the mechanical harmonics. Her voice became a stabilizing force, holding the Etherians together through sheer will and artistic intuition. Blood ran from her nose as the feedback affected her, but she kept singing. An Etherian elder reached out with a crystalline hand, touching Maria's shoulder. Energy flowed between them, not harmful, but supportive. The Etherian added its voice to hers, and soon others joined. Human art and alien nature merged into something neither species had imagined possible. They held until the wave passed, leaving Maria exhausted but alive, surrounded by Etherians whose forms glowed with newfound respect and understanding. In the engineering sections, Sam Taylor worked with his Vorthic partner Kelks to prevent a reactor breach. The gravity wave had twisted the containment systems, and standard procedures had failed. "We need to shut it down," Kelks insisted. "Protocol demands it." Sam studied the readings. "If we shut down, 10,000 beings in the lower sections lose. Life support. There has to be another way." "There is no other way. The mathematics are clear," Sam grinned. "Then we need new mathematics. Help me recalibrate the magnetic containment. We'll use the gravity wave itself as part of the solution." "That's insane," Kelk said, but he was already moving to help. They worked together, human intuition and Vorthic precision combining. Sam's willingness to break rules merged with Kelks's deep technical knowledge. They created a solution that no single species would have imagined, turning the destructive force of the gravity wave into a stabilizing element for the reactor. "Impossible," Kelks muttered as the reactor stabilized. "This violates 3 fundamental laws of physics." "Human motto," Sam said, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Laws are more like—" The sensor readings were catastrophic. Dr. Janet Brooks on the research vessel had finally decoded the pattern of the stellar anomaly, and her findings terrified her. The star wasn't just producing random gravity waves, it was building to a final pulse that would destroy everything within several light years. "We have maybe 6 hours," she announced over the emergency channel. "When this star goes, it's taking Kepler Station and every ship here with it." Silence greeted her words. Then voices erupted. Panic, denial, desperate plans for escape. Most ships could reach minimum safe distance, but Kepler Station couldn't move. Over 500,000 beings remained aboard, too injured or trapped to evacuate quickly. Commander Velix spoke from the station's damaged command center. "Then we must accept our fate. Save who you can. Leave the rest of us. No." The single word came from Captain Lisa Chun, and it carried the weight of absolute certainty. "Captain Chun," Velix said gently, "I appreciate human optimism, but mathematics cannot be denied. The station cannot move. We cannot survive the pulse. Save your people and what others you can." "No," Lisa repeated. "We don't leave people behind. There's always another way. Always." She opened a channel to all human ships. "This is Captain Chun. I need every engineer, scientist, and creative thinker we have. Meet on Open Channel 7. We have 6 hours to do the impossible." What followed was the most extraordinary brainstorming session in galactic history. Humans from every walk of life contributed ideas, no matter how wild. A chef suggested using the station's rotation against itself. A musician proposed harmonic resonance. A child asked why they couldn't make the station slip around the wave like water around a stone. Alex Rivera had been listening quietly, running calculations. "Wait, the kid might be onto something. We can't move the station, but what if we could move space around it?" "Explain," Lisa demanded. "The gravity drives on our ships. They don't push against anything. They bend space. If we link enough drives together, we might be able to create a bubble of curved space around the station. The pulse would flow around it," Dr. Karen Phillips added, "like cardiac surgery. We can't stop the heart, but we can redirect blood flow around the damaged section. It would take every ship we have," Emma Rodriguez calculated quickly, "and perfect synchronization. One ship out of alignment and the bubble collapses." "Then we'd better get started," Lisa said. The plan was insane. By any reasonable standard, it required connecting the gravity drives of over 100 human ships, synchronizing them to create a stable warp bubble around a massive station and maintaining it through a stellar pulse that would test every system to breaking. But humans had never let impossible odds stop them before. Tom Bailey worked with Sarah Mitchell to organize the non-engineers. We need every hand helping. If you can't calibrate a gravity drive, you can carry supplies, tend wounded, or just hold someone's hand who's scared. The response was immediate. Humans who had come as traders, teachers, and tourists became part of the most complex rescue operation ever attempted. They worked alongside aliens who, just days ago, had feared them. Ziegler found himself beside Tom, helping to move critical supplies. Your people realize this plan will likely fail? That you're risking every human life here? Tom nodded while lifting a heavy container. Probably. But failing while trying beats succeeding at running away. That's not who we are. Who are you? Then? Ziegler asked, genuinely curious now. Tom paused, thinking. We're the species that looked at water and decided to cross it. We looked at the sky and decided to fly. We looked at space and decided to explore. And now we're looking at certain death and deciding to fight it. Not because we're soldiers, but because we're human. The work continued at a frantic pace. Danny Williams and his damaged Lucky Strike became a mobile command post, coordinating supply runs between ships. His cargo hold, patched with hope and determination, somehow held together. Maria Santos worked with the Etherians to create harmonic dampeners for the gravity drives. The feedback from linking so many drives would create destructive resonances, but her fusion of art and science provided solutions. You understand frequencies like we do, an Etherian observed. Yet you are not crystalline. How? Maria smiled tiredly. Music is math. Color is wavelength. Emotion is chemistry. Humans don't separate these things. To us, science and art, different ways of understanding the same universe. Dr. Patricia Lee led a team checking every seal and connection on the station. Her understanding of pressure and fluid dynamics proved crucial in identifying weak points that could fail under the stress of the warp bubble. Found another one, she called out, marking a structural weakness. The boron section has microfractures from the gravity waves. A boron engineer buzzed anxiously. Those are within acceptable parameters. Not for what we're about to do, Patricia explained. We're going to put this station under stresses it was never designed for. Every weakness matters. Professor Allen Brooks had perhaps the hardest job, coordinating between over 100 ships with different communication systems, ensuring everyone understood their role. He created a hybrid language on the fly, mixing technical terms from dozen species into something everyone could follow. Remember, he broadcast repeatedly, timing is everything. When Captain Chun gives the signal, every drive must activate within 1/10 of a second. Too early or too late, and we lose the bubble. 3 hours remained. The star's anomaly grew worse, sending out preliminary pulses that tested their preparations. Several ships took damage, but humans rushed to repair them, often working in conditions that would have sent others fleeing. Sam, Taylor, and Kelks had become a perfect team, human adaptability melding with Vorthic precision. They solved problems that either species alone would have found impossible. After this is over, Kelks said during a brief rest, I want to visit Earth, to understand how your species became what you are. Sam grinned. You'd be welcome. Fair warning, though, we're even crazier on our home planet. Something about the gravity makes us do ridiculous things for fun. Like this rescue? This is just a Tuesday for humans. 1 hour remained. Every human ship was in position, drives synchronized, crews ready, but doubt crept in. The plan required perfection, and the universe rarely allowed perfection. Lisa Chun felt the weight of command. If this failed, she would have led every human here to their death. But when she looked at her crew, She saw no fear, only determination. "Captain," her communications officer said, "we're receiving messages. Thousands of them." Lisa looked at her screen. Messages poured in from across the station. Aliens of every species thanking humans, not just for the rescue attempt, but for showing them what courage looked like. A young Etherian had drawn a picture with light, humans, and aliens standing together against a storm. A Vorthic poet had composed verses about warriors who fought with compassion instead of weapons. A Naifi elder sent a simple message: "We see you now. We see your true strength." Tears ran down Lisa's face as she read. Win or lose, humanity had already achieved something extraordinary. They had shown the galaxy their real nature. 10 minutes to pulse, Janet Brooks announced. All stations report ready. The final preparations were frantic. Tom Bailey made one last round, checking on frightened beings of all species. He found the young Vorthic child from earlier, clutching a small human toy someone had given them. "Are we going to be okay?" the child asked. Tom knelt down. "You know what? I don't know. But I promise we're going to try our very best. And sometimes that's enough to make miracles happen." 5 minutes, came the call. Every human took their position. On damaged ships held together by patches and prayers, in stations mixing military and civilian equipment, standing beside aliens who had become friends in crisis. They waited. Lisa Chun opened a final channel to Earth, knowing the message would take years to arrive. "This is Captain Chun, commanding the human relief fleet at Kepler Station. We're about to attempt something impossible to save 500,000 lives. If we fail, know that we failed trying to help. That's what humans do. That's who we are." 1 minute. The star pulsed, its anomaly reaching critical mass. Space itself seemed to scream under the strain. On Kepler Station, beings of all species held their breath. "All ships, this is Chun. On my mark, remember, we do this together or not at all." The final seconds counted down. Across the fleet, human hands rested on controls. Behind them stood their new allies, finally understanding what made humans special. Not their ability to fight, but their refusal to give up. Mark. 100 gravity drives activated in perfect synchronization. Space bent and twisted around Kepler Station, forming a bubble of curved reality. The stellar pulse erupted, racing outward at the speed of light, carrying destruction to everything in its path. It struck the bubble and flowed around it like water around stone. The human ships groaned under impossible stress. Several drives overloaded, but others compensated. The bubble held inside. 500,000 beings watched in awe as death itself passed them by, turned aside by human determination and ingenuity. The impossible had become possible because humans refused to accept any other outcome. When it was over, when the pulse had passed and the bubble collapsed, a strange silence filled the communication channels. Then, starting slowly but building, to a roar came the cheers. Aliens of every species see,